Why were the tribe of Dan omitted from the book of Revelation? The tribe of Dan is one of the 12 tribes of Israel, descending from Dan, the fifth son of Jacob, and his concubine Bilhah. Known as one of the original 12 tribes, the tribe of Dan played an integral role in the early development of Israelite society. From their beginnings, Danites were known for their strength, valor, and leadership in various crucial moments in Israel's history. They were renowned warriors, tasked with securing and defending the promised land from foreign enemies. After the Israelites left Egypt and wandered through the desert, the tribes were each assigned their portion of land in Canaan. Dan's original allotment was along the Mediterranean coast, adjacent to the powerful Philistines. Though this location proved challenging due to constant warfare with the Philistines, the tribe of Dan remained steadfast and resilient. Their reputation as warriors became well known, as they constantly engaged in battles to secure their land and protect their people. Their courage became a hallmark of their identity, and over time, the tribe sought to expand its influence. Despite these pressures, the tribe's achievements should not be overshadowed. One of the most important figures from the tribe of Dan was Samson, one of the most famous judges of Israel. Samson, known for his supernatural strength, was chosen by God to deliver Israel from the oppression of the Philistines. The heroic deeds of Samson remain one of the most celebrated narratives in biblical history, showcasing the strength and determination of the Danites. In addition to their military prowess, the tribe of Dan was known for their craftsmanship and skill in construction. During the building of the tabernacle, the skilled artisan Bezalel was chosen to oversee the intricate designs of the sanctuary, and he was assisted by a craftsman from the tribe of Dan, Oholiab. The involvement of Danites in the creation of sacred artifacts highlights their contributions to the spiritual life of the Israelites. Their work in the tabernacle is remembered as a testament to their devotion and creativity in the service of God. For centuries, the Danites were known for their dedication to the survival of Israel. They upheld the principles of their forefathers and contributed significantly to the early formation of the Israelite nation. Their military might, combined with their skills as craftsmen, placed them at the forefront of Israel's development. However, despite all their accomplishments and contributions, there were elements in the tribe of Dan's later history that cast a shadow over their legacy. And this is where things begin to take a darker turn, though not immediately evident. Though they started strong, occupying a coastal region near the Philistines, their story grows increasingly mysterious over time. The tribe of Dan, while celebrated for their resilience and strength, faced mounting challenges in fully conquering their territory. The proximity to the Philistines and other hostile neighbors created ongoing tensions that made life difficult. Rather than remaining confined to their original land allotment, the Danites sought new territory further north, and this is where their story begins to diverge from the other tribes. In their pursuit of a new homeland, the Danites launched a bold expedition to the city of Laish, a peaceful and isolated city in the northern part of Canaan. The Book of Judges describes how the Danites conquered Laish, renaming it Dan and establishing themselves there. The city of Dan, located at the headwaters of the Jordan River, became their new home. At this point, the Danites seemed to be prospering. However, in this new land, they also encountered new influences which would gradually change the tribe's religious practices. Unlike their southern neighbors, who remained more firmly rooted in the traditions passed down by Moses, the tribe of Dan began to adopt the religious customs of the surrounding peoples. One of the pivotal moments in their history involves the introduction of idol worship, as described in Judges 18. When the Danites settled in Laish, they came across a man named Micah, who had created a private shrine with an idol. Seeing an opportunity, the Danites took Micah's idol and his priest and established a new center of worship in their territory. This marks the beginning of a religious shift that would have far-reaching consequences. The establishment of this alternative form of worship by the Danites was more than just a small deviation. It signaled a deeper connection to the pagan practices of the Canaanites. The presence of this idolatry in the tribe of Dan stands in stark contrast to the strict monotheism that was central to Israelite identity. Over time, this idolatry grew and became a defining feature of the tribe. As the centuries passed, the northern kingdom of Israel, where the city of Dan was located, became increasingly vulnerable to foreign influence and invasion. The city of Dan itself became one of the centers of idol worship under the reign of King Jeroboam. When the kingdom of Israel split from Judah, Jeroboam sought to establish new religious centers that would rival the temple in Jerusalem. He placed golden calves in Bethel and Dan, encouraging the people of Israel to worship these idols rather than going to Jerusalem. Dan, once a strong and loyal tribe, had now become a center of religious corruption. It is this history of idolatry that many scholars point to when explaining the tribe's exclusion from the list of tribes in Revelation 7. Their involvement in introducing idol worship to Israel may have been seen as an unforgivable betrayal of God's commandments. In Revelation, when the tribes of Israel are listed, Dan is notably absent, replaced by the tribe of Manasseh. This exclusion has long been a topic of speculation, with many believing that the tribe's idolatry was the primary reason for their omission. What makes this even more intriguing is the fact that other tribes had their own failings, yet Dan alone is excluded. This raises questions. Why was the sin of idolatry attributed so strongly to Dan? What role did the tribe play in the larger downfall of Israel? These are the questions that have fueled speculation for centuries, leading some to believe that the tribe of Dan was involved in more than just idol worship. Some conspiracy theories suggest that the tribe of Dan may have had secret knowledge or connections to ancient mysteries that set them apart from the other tribes. Others believe that their idolatry was a cover for more sinister practices, possibly even influencing the rise of secret societies in later centuries. Whatever the case may be, the exclusion of Dan from Revelation remains one of the most perplexing mysteries in biblical history. As the story of Dan fades from the pages of Scripture, their legacy remains a subject of fascination, with some wondering if their influence continued in secret, hidden from the eyes of history. The tribe of Dan, known historically for its valor in battle and strength, succumbed to practices that would ultimately mar its legacy. As we explore the historical context of the tribe, it becomes apparent that their exclusion was not an oversight, but a poignant symbol of divine judgment. Tracing back to the era of the Judges, the Danites' narrative took a pivotal turn when they established a graven image at the heart of their worship, directly contradicting the core commandments given to Moses on Mount Sinai. This act of idolatry, highlighted in the chilling story from Judges 18, where the Danites stole Micah's idol and priest, sets a precedent for their future. Their continuous engagement in idol worship likely set the stage for their exclusion from Revelation's vision of a purified Israel. The implications of such idolatry are profound, reflecting a spiritual harlotry that the prophetic scriptures vehemently denounce. Moreover, the prophetic book of Amos hints at a deep-seated infidelity to Yahweh's covenant, foretelling doom for those who turn from the path of righteousness. This prophetic utterance aligns with the fate of Dan, absent from the list of those sealed for protection in the apocalyptic vision. As we consider these threads of rebellion and divine response, it is evident that the omission of Dan serves as a stark narrative warning against the dangers of spiritual compromise and the severe consequences that can follow. This exploration not only enriches our understanding of the tribe of Dan's fate, but also serves as a reflective mirror for all who consider the weight of covenant and the price of infidelity. In the tapestry of biblical history, Dan's story is a somber thread, woven with caution and urging vigilance in spiritual integrity. The tribe of Dan, fierce in battle and astute in strategy, made their home in the north of the Promised Land. Yet their legacy was tarnished by their deviation into idolatry, which distanced them from Yahweh's favor. In their quest for expansion, they captured Laish, imposing their own religious practices contrary to divine commands. They set up an idol, establishing a parallel priesthood that challenged the sanctity of the God-ordained religious order. This defiant turn towards pagan customs marked the Danites' spiritual downfall. Their exclusion from the list of tribes in the book of Revelation is a clear divine judgment, reflecting the gravity of their apostasy. This absence is more than a historical footnote. It's a divine indictment of their actions, serving as a stark warning against the perils of turning away from God's laws. It underscores a pivotal theme in Scripture: the relentless divine pursuit of righteousness and the dire consequences of its breach. By chronicling these events without embellishment, The story of Dan's exclusion from Revelation emphasizes the profound lessons embedded in their history. Lessons of faithfulness versus betrayal, of divine justice meted out in response to human choices. As the story unfolds, the focus shifts from the broad historical context to the specific incidents that led to the tribe of Dan's exclusion from the Book of Revelation. Notably, the tribe's involvement in idolatry, particularly their establishment of a graven image in their territory, is highlighted. This act of defiance against the central worship in Jerusalem marked them significantly in the spiritual narrative of the Israelites. The scriptural accounts from Judges and the implications of these actions emphasize how these historical decisions influenced their spiritual legacy. Their choices resonated through time, affecting their representation in prophetic visions, particularly John's vision in Revelation, where purity and adherence to God's commandments were paramount. The intriguing aspect of this story is how it ties into broader themes of redemption and judgment, reflecting on how past actions can cast long shadows over a tribe's spiritual fate. The exclusion of Dan might symbolize a divine disapproval that extends beyond human understanding, inviting us to reflect on the consequences of straying from divine law. The tribe of Dan's exclusion from the Book of Revelation is a striking anomaly in biblical records. Historically, Dan's actions and their consequences are vividly portrayed throughout the scriptures, especially in the context of their lapse into idolatry. This deviation not only set them apart from the other tribes, but also marked them in a profoundly negative light. The biblical narrative, from the warnings of the prophets to the stark omissions in key texts, illustrates a clear trajectory of decline for Dan, which culminates in their absence from the list of those sealed in the apocalypse. In the grand tapestry of biblical history, Dan represents a cautionary tale of spiritual failure. Their journey from being one of the tribes of Israel to their eventual disappearance from the eschatological promise encapsulates the severe repercussions of turning away from the covenant with God. This story serves as a stark reminder of the enduring importance of faithfulness and the dangers of forsaking divine commandments. Intriguingly, the tribe of Dan's journey through Scripture reveals a pattern of behavior that aligns with certain enigmatic traditions, actions that might have sown seeds of their exclusion from Revelation. The historical records show that Dan was often found on the fringes, both geographically and spiritually, engaging in practices that diverged from the core commandments given to Moses. For instance, while the Israelites were instructed to destroy idolatrous symbols and shrines, the Danites adopted and adapted these for their own use. They set up their own place of worship with a graven image, a direct violation of the commandments. This could very well have laid the foundation for their exclusion, painting them not just as strayers but as betrayers of the covenant. The implications of these actions stretch far into the prophetic texts, hinting that the tribe's fate was sealed by their own hands. Their choice to embrace idolatry, a practice vehemently opposed by the prophets, set them apart from the other tribes, not just in location, but in destiny. The dark thread of Dan's narrative weaves deeper into their eventual disappearance from the tribes listed in Revelation. As their practices diverged from the foundational beliefs of Israel, prophetic literature hinted at a grave future. This tribe's penchant for syncretism, merging foreign beliefs with their worship, possibly forecasted their omission as a form of divine reprimand, a theory that stirs contemplation about the limits of forgiveness in the scriptural context. Moreover, the prophecy in Genesis, where Jacob predicts that Dan will be a serpent on the road, a viper along the path, might metaphorically signify their role in leading Israel astray. This biblical metaphor could subtly underscore their stealthy departure from the collective faith and morality, positioning them as covert influencers rather than overt participants in the spiritual heritage of Israel. The story of Dan serves as a potent reminder of the consequences that follow when one strays too far from divinely set paths. It challenges the faithful to consider the permanence of divine judgment and the seriousness with which it treats the corruption of spiritual integrity. If you enjoyed today's video and want to see more Bible stories just like this one, then I'd like to invite you to join our growing community. It's completely free, and all you have to do is hit the subscribe button and tap the notification bell, and you'll always be the first to know when we post a new video.